There's been no shortage of drama at the Rugby World Cup in Japan, has there? Last night, England upsetting the All Blacks, knocking New Zealand out of the World Cup and getting themselves into the final. Back here in Australia, well, the bloodletting has begun big time. On the back of the Wallabies' quarter-final exit, we've seen the coach, Michael Cheika, fall on his sword and now calls for the administrators to do the same.
Australia will be heading home early.
If you'd find it inside you to find a little bit of compassion for people who are hurting.
Michael Cheika's time as Wallabies coach is finished.
As players, I think we always find it disappointing when people on the outside are taking pot shots.
You know, at the end of the day, CEO-coach relationships are never straightforward.
I've pretty much got no relationship with the CEO.
Can the team function if the coach says he has no relationship with the CEO?
I don't know.
There was a situation where, you know, 50% win rate for the Wallabies was not acceptable.
There is a bit of a cultural change that needs to happen within the team and within the body itself.
But I think we should be backing and supporting Australian coaches wherever possible.
It's been an ugly 7 days, hasn't it, for Australian rugby? Neil Breen, in your piece in the Sun Herald today, you do really outline just where it all went wrong for Michael Cheika and what's been an unusual reign. Were you expecting this much drama in the wake of that quarter-final defeat?
I was, as soon as Michael Cheika said he had no relationship with Raylene Castle and barely won with the chairman of the ARU. You just knew that was calculated from Cheika. He was under pressure because the team performed poorly and has done for a couple of years. So he went bang, dropped a grenade over there and everyone went for it. And you just knew that the week that unfolded was going to unfold. But Cheika's reign was very odd. His first 12 months were magnificent. Took him all the way to a World Cup final. He was a club rugby guy at heart who'd taught himself the art of coaching through Europe. He took the Waratahs to the Super Rugby Championship. All of a sudden, we're in a World Cup final. Everyone thought the next 4 years were going to be glorious, but he lost his way as a coach. He debuted 41 players in those 4 years. 41. It was a revolving door. And they got to the World Cup, had 4 different sets of halves in 5 matches.
Brendan, do you think there needs to be change at the top? I've been involved at a club before where there hasn't been great leadership at the top. Now there is. And that's where leadership starts. That's where culture starts at the top. He said he doesn't have a relationship with the CEO, with the chairman. Does it need to change there as well? Because he's fallen on his sword. Do they need to be outed as well?
The reason he didn't have a relationship with the CEO and the chairman is because after they won 4 of 13 matches in the previous year, they brought in an overall coaching coordinator. They brought in selectors. They said, you're not the only guy now. You're going to have some controls put on you. So obviously that's where his relationship with them fell apart. But rugby's been tearing itself apart for years now. Like, supporters of the game are angry at the administrators. Where's the school structure, the club structure that feeds into Super Rugby? I think Super Rugby's kind of taken a lot of the fabric out of Australian rugby and the pathways to professionalism. Gal, you're playing rugby league week in, week out against the best schoolboy players that came out of the system. They went to rugby league. Cam Murray's going to play for the Kangaroos next weekend. He was the captain of Newington First 15. Kalen Ponga was the best schoolboy rugby player we've seen in a decade. He plays for Newcastle Knights.
It's a good point. And now they're obviously talking about the possible replacements, Bianca. Dave Rennie, he's a Kiwi. We've had Robbie Deans come into the fold before. Are you comfortable seeing a non-Australian coaching an Australian rugby union team?
Oh, I don't know. It has to come down to if he's the best coach for the job. What do you reckon, Neil? Do you think they should have him?
Well,
it seems like it's a done deal. That's all we're hearing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it looks like that they're going to get him. But the big discussion point after last night is Eddie Jones. You know,
How much would it take to get him?
A fortune, a fortune,
which we can't afford right now.
He's contracted to English rugby for another couple of years. Look, Eddie Jones was the guy. He was the guy in Australian rugby. World Cup final in 2003. But like nearly every Australian rugby coach, it always ends in tears. It's happened with Cheika. It happened with Ewan McKenzie. You know, Alan Jones was the best rugby coach we've had in the last 40 years. It ended in tears for Alan Jones as well.
It's one of the toughest jobs in this country right now because all this saga that's going on, it's pretty obvious that we pretty much care about our Wallabies. We care about this team. This is so ingrained in the Australian psyche. It's our culture. And we look at people like John Eales and the legends of our sport. We obviously care so much about the Wallabies. So this job is going to be one of the biggest jobs in the country.
We care so much about the Wallabies, but the issue for me is the grassroots level and what's going on below the Wallabies. And what do you think about that? I mean, Super 15 seem to have fallen apart. As you said, all the schoolboys are moving to rugby league. The competition at that lower level doesn't seem to be anywhere near as strong as it should be.
It's the pathway to professionalism, Gal. You hit the nail on the head. We used to have 5 Super Rugby teams. We've got 4. People can't identify with the Super Rugby competition because the Waratahs are playing the Sharks and they're playing someone else. They don't know where the teams come from. I think that's where the issue is.
Well, for those Aussie rugby fans that Liesl talks about, that might have been hurting after that quarter-final defeat last week and the fallout they've witnessed this week, maybe it was made that little bit easier by watching the English get the better of the All Blacks last night.